Here on the Breslin Center floor, I'm Ryan Cole alongside Kyle Turk for Impact 89 FM. And Michigan State loses their first home game of the season today to their rival Michigan. 82-72 was the final score. And Kyle, my initial reaction from this one is Michigan State just flat out got out-toughed by Michigan today.
No, and you wouldn't have expected that from a rivalry game. The two performances Michigan State's put in prior to this game, the loss at Ohio State last weekend, and then the midweek kind of, not necessarily a tough stretch, but a tough team that they played in Rutgers. You figured they'd respond emotionally, mentally. Didn't really seem like we got much of that from Michigan State today.
Yeah, and while they out-rebounded Michigan, it was only 32-31. And Michigan got a lot of offensive rebounds as well, and that was really the name of the game for them, is getting a lot of second chances. And they also had some trouble stopping Michigan's dribble drive. It was really impressive how they really got to the rack and finished pretty well.
No, and you look and you look at the stats of this game, and you don't really see a 10-point win for Michigan State. 42% only Michigan shoots from the floor. That's worse than Michigan State's 45%. But offensive rebounds, like you said, were a problem. Points off of turnovers were big, 26-7, and points off of turnovers. It's been a problem for Michigan State all season. The numbers are better than they were last year, but it's still kind of the inexperience level. Now you got 4 sophomores plus Jaren Jackson on the floor. The offense looked stagnant in the second half. Looked like there were a lot of standing around, not too many excellent shot opportunities. Miles Bridges had a better game today, but is still, just drawing the ire of fans across Spartan Nation. And I just think that Michigan State's offensively, they're just in a rut right now. They're gonna have a lot of time to pick it up. 6 days off before they face Indiana, and right now you feel like both sides of the coin. Michigan State showed their true colors today. Michigan also played well.
And it was the 18 turnovers for Michigan State that really were a problem. Like you said, 26 points off turnovers for Michigan, off of those 18 turnovers for Michigan State. That's been a problem all year, and they really struggled again today.
No, and careless with the ball, it just feels that way. It's not necessarily Michigan State's trying to do too much all the time, and a lot of it just feels unforced. Cassius Winston, 4 turnovers for him. Miles Bridges, 4 turnovers. Those are the two guys that Michigan State has the ball in their hands often. Yeah. Nick Ward was able to, didn't have too many minutes, so he's been a guy that's been prone to that as well. But not really his fault today. It was more Miles Bridges trying to do a little bit too much. Cassius Winston trying to do a little bit too much. Jaren Jackson had probably the best game offensively for anybody on the Spartans, but second half he just seemed to get a little bit tired, just like he did on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I was surprised they didn't go down to Jaren Jackson more often in this game. He had 19 points today, but still I was shocked they didn't go to him. Nick Ward was up and down to begin the game, but sat for most of the rest of the first half, the last 10 minutes or so. Jackson sat most of the last 9 minutes of the first half. I was shocked they didn't go down low early and often.
In foul trouble, I hate to say it, but refereeing played a big portion in this game. Both teams in the bonus very early on in both halves. Michigan was called for more fouls on the day than Michigan State was, at least in the first half. Kind of evened out a bit in the second half, but Nick Ward went to the bench for long stretches in the second half, was unable to kind of impart his will on the game that we might have had he not been called for so many early on. Gavin Schilling had to sit for a long stretch. Jaren Jackson ended up with 4. It didn't even seem like he had one of his worst games in terms of avoiding fouling, but it played a big role in this game. I'm surprised that Moe Wagner still managed to get 27 points to lead all scorers, given that he was in foul trouble all game, ended up fouling out. This was a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, and Moe Wagner, I'm glad you brought him up because he was sensational for Michigan today, and they didn't even know if he was going to play for the Wolverines today. He tweaked that right ankle that he had trouble with throughout the season, and he played very well today, was easily the best player on the court, and he seemed to really enjoy the villain role that he has on this Michigan team here in the Breslin Center.
And last year, obviously, the 3 technical fouls in 2 games between him and Nick Ward, that was a fun battle. We wish we could have seen a little bit more of that today.
Yeah, no technicals today, but they were certainly barking a little bit, I'm sure, and Wagner, like I said, he enjoyed that villain role.
And the emotion played into it a lot, and yeah. You could tell after he fouled out at the end of the game was very animated towards his bench, his teammates, and he deserved it. He made Michigan State look silly all game in terms of off the dribble, was able to put a couple moves, left Nick Ward on the floor late in the game as kind of an icing on the cake. Outside shooting as well, Wagner really showed just his all-around game. And that's the kind of performance, that's the kind of player that Michigan State had trouble with this year. Someone like a stretch 4 who can score both inside and out. Michigan State really doesn't have a designed defender that can stop those kind of players. Perimeter defense felt like they were a little step slow maybe on the outside, especially Cassius Winston let Xavier Simpson get to the bucket a little bit too much. 16 points for Simpson in this game. It just seemed like a defensive performance from Michigan State that you can get away with against low major teams, against teams that were playing in the non-conference schedule. Big Ten play is here, and against these athletic teams like Ohio State, like Michigan, it's a problem. And now that you're going to see how they respond through more teams. They've got Purdue coming up later in the schedule. A long time to turn around, kind of diagnose some of what's been going wrong defensively.
And for Michigan State, their second loss in the last 3 games, all in 1 week. They lost on the road to Ohio State. They struggle here and head to overtime against a Rutgers team that people really expected them to blow out of the gym. And then obviously this Michigan loss, the first loss here at home this season. What went wrong for Michigan State in this last week, really?
We love to get a big head, considering that this is the talent, this is the level of talent that Michigan State needs to win titles, and this feels like the year. And you wonder if maybe people play into that a little bit too much. Tom Izzo at post-game said it's a big deal when you lose these 2 games. These kind of stretches happen to college basketball teams. And we love to fall back on the cliche of Izzo's teams always playing better in March. But to come in here after 2 bad performances earlier this week and show the kind of, I'm not going to say they laid down, but the mental toughness that they showed against Michigan was not requisite to winning this game.
Yeah, you're right. And obviously a very difficult week for them shooting the ball too after they were putting up 100 points in 4 straight games. They've had a really tough time shooting the ball and getting out in the fast break. They only had 2 fast break points against Michigan today. I mean, that was really, I think, the best part of John Beilein's coaching job, which was really tremendous throughout, by the way. But 2 fast break points for this Michigan State team that's so lethal in transition, that's a problem.
No, Michigan's transition defense has been one of their strong suits. I mean, tell you what, Michigan's got talent at almost every position on the court.
And they'll be ranked this coming week, by the way. A tough loss to Purdue, and I think they should have been ranked this week anyways. They are definitely going to be ranked. They're a top 20 team this year.
They deserve it. They're talented. They don't necessarily have someone outside of Wagner who can get going. I mean, Miles Bridges did a pretty good job on Charles Matthews there as their second option.
Yeah.
But while Michigan lacks the kind of top-end talent they need to make a deep run in the tournament, they're going to be a tough out for a lot of teams if Wagner gets going. He had a career-high points today, and, against better teams, maybe down low, Wagner might struggle later in the year. But right now, against this Michigan State team, which everyone was quick to anoint as one of the best defensive teams of all time, maybe after a couple of the performances they put in earlier in the year, Michigan made them look silly today.
And Michigan State goes back to the drawing board, and they have a long week. They have 6 days off before their next game. That's Friday at 7 p.m. here at the Breslin Center. They'll host Indiana. And I'm sure that it will not be a fun week of practices for Tom Izzo and the Spartans.
No, it's going to be it's a good week of time to kind of gauge where they're at, because this feels like a big turning point in Michigan State's season. Win this game and you get a little bit of the monkey off your back, but you come here and you see this result and you think, well, here's a weight of a ton of bricks just on your shoulders, and going through these next few games in the schedule, it's going to be interesting to see where Michigan State's mindset is at with the rest of Big Ten play still on the schedule.
Yeah, so they are 4-2 in the Big Ten right now. Back there in third place, tied with Michigan right now, behind an undefeated Purdue and Ohio State. They're 16-3 on the season. They are ranked number 4 right now, but when the polls come out on Monday, Michigan State definitely going to fall out of the top 5, maybe out of the top 10 for the first time this season. So we'll see what happens. We'll have all the coverage for you at Impact Sports. Once again, Michigan State loses to Michigan, 82-72 today. I'm Ryan Cole alongside Kyle Turk for Impact Sports. Thanks for watching.